So it's just heat thing pushed to get their courthouse taken care of, get them to courthouse.
I don't know. These is tonight, and which will be attempted PZA meeting.
Oh, really?
You would show.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and call tonight's meeting to order. Welcome our guests. Ms. Johnson, if you can call the roll for us, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Matt Seal.
Here.
Mr. Steve Donahue.
Here.
Mr. Kevin Meadows.
Here.
Mr. Hubert Allen.
Here.
Mr. Steve Rosen.
Here.
Mr. Harry Donahue.
Here.
Mr. William Flippen.
Here. We have a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda with one minor correction. Section 5, presentation of capital improvement plan. I'd like to take under new business and move item B, planning and zoning work plan update by Mr. Stamey, our county administrator, up and make that 5B.
Okay. May we have a motion, please?
I make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Matt Seal.
Yes.
Mr. Steve Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Meadows.
Yes.
Mr. Hubert Allen.
Yes.
Mr. Steve Rosen.
Yes.
Mr. Harry Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. William Flippen.
Yes. Okay. And we're going to have a presentation now.
Mr. Stamey.
All right, okay.
We'll move along here.
Good evening, Planning Commission members. Derek Stamey, County Administrator for Cumberland County, and wanted to give you an update and a presentation on the capital improvement program. I know in years past we have tended to shift more towards the spring when we would bring this to you, so we're bringing this to you earlier for better consideration, more dialogue, and more feedback. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you an overview of the budget calendar and the changes that we've made to improve the county's budget processes. I'm also going to give you a grants update, which you may recall a lot of our projects that we had presented to you in previous years were contingent upon grant funding, and that has materialized in some cases not. And then I'm going to actually share with you a projects update, and then just a general projects update, and then the CIP requests that we have received thus far, and then we'll cover all of that, and then I'll jump into the planning and zoning work plan, which was shared with everyone in the joint workshop with the board, planning commission, and EDA, I believe. So I'm going to take a breath and a sip of water. So just to give you an idea of the budget calendar for fiscal year 27, I'm very much a pictures, not a words guy, but you can see that here we are in November. Where we've highlighted county efforts and school efforts. We have a combined budget calendar now where everybody knows what the left hand's doing and the right hand's doing. And then joint county and school efforts, which includes CIP requests to the Planning Commission. You can see that in November. We are going to be sending a budget letter to the schools discussing the initial transfer amount. Good news is we did receive our Department of Education CPI index rating today, and it looks like it's remaining unchanged at this point. So that's a good thing. We'll be working towards presenting a county annual report. Our CAFR will be presented in December, and then we're also going to see public and school board feedback on the initial transfer letter to the schools. Talk about January. I'm actually going to present the recommended budget in January, which would include the CIP at that time, projected revenues and expenses, goals and objectives for the year, and would include a budget transfer to schools based upon that December letter and subsequent feedback. So from there, we worked through February all the way to June, hitting on workshops, letting department heads present their budget requests, outside agencies, constitutional officers, superintendents' budgets for the schools, and then holding a joint meeting between the board of supervisors and the school board in March. CIP, we would hope to finalize that by March so that we can move forward in April with the tax rates, recommended budget, CIP, and then after we hold the appropriate public hearing, adopting the budget at that time, and then May through June, we go through the appropriation process and meeting with department heads and other outside organizations to discuss what was approved. Any questions before I go on past the process? Just want to make you all aware of the approach. Okay. Give you an update on our grant program. We really hit the grant program hard this year. It's been a full calendar year in which we've really run with our grant program. And if you look at the calendar year, we've been approved for approximately $3 million in over $3 million in grant funding. And for fiscal year 25, we saw a tick over $3 million with just under a shade under $1.5 million being approved. In FY26, we applied for over $2 million and were approved for $568,000. And that was through October 9th. So since then, we have not gotten any additional grant awards because right now the grants are just closed and we should know in the next couple months what we've received. But we just submitted an additional grant application this morning for $10,000, which we feel we did. Wanted to point out that through our FY25 grant opportunities and what we applied for under the CIP program, we were actually awarded $653,442 in grant funding. And that included public safety, parks and rec, information technology, economic development, community operations, and social services. So grants are funding our CIP items as well as non-budgeted special projects. So for example, the small area plan that we discussed in a previous workshop, that's not a CIP project, but it is a special project. And that's being funded through these efforts as well. Some of these things we wouldn't be able to do as a staff ourselves, so we have to bring in a consultant to help us with that foundational work for the county. So I wanted to cover some of these capital projects. The first and foremost, and we were just talking about this, Mr. Meadows and I, about the foundation being poured for the communications tower behind the sheriff's office. The flow chart that you see there is the actual Gantt chart for the project itself. The star you see down at the bottom corner, that's our finish line. So we're looking to push, and this is up to date and accurate, but we have finished that foundation. We've got our building permits, zoning permits, all that stuff's been covered appropriately. We will be working with the state police to erect the tower. Once that's done, they've got to make the appropriate connections. We're in the process of getting new materials for the dispatch center. We got a $150,000 grant through E911 to upgrade our dispatch center. That was not originally part of the project, so we were able to upgrade monitors, any type of device that may benefit our dispatch, even ergonomically designed chairs. So we're really bringing it into the 21st century, and it was non-matching funds, so that was essentially free money. Radio installations will need to take place in the sheriff's vehicles, field installations of fire and EMS radios, and then testing and adjustments over the next several months. So once that tower goes up and we make the connection, we can start doing vehicle installs. One project that's underway right now, and this was actually in the CIP for several years, and it was split out over a chunk of time, probably 8 to 10 years, every other year, $60,000. It was a pump station generator project where we had identified 5 pump stations that we had either had trouble getting access to or we felt were a priority in terms of keeping the system operational in the event of a power outage. The Envigo settlement from, I'd say a year ago, set aside some funds to be distributed by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. I didn't get to decide that, a federal judge did. So we met with Soil and Water, and we put together a package that we felt was competitive for some of these grant funds, sent it off to National Fish and Wildlife, and they sent back what they would consider. And one of the things they would consider was this project, and ultimately it did get funded for just a touch over $400,000, non-matching funds, so we're actually able to go in and install these generators at multiple pump stations, and that work has already begun. So what the contractor will do is they will actually go to each station, pour the pad, go to the next one, pour the pad, and they'll do everything all at one time so that you don't have multiple mobilizations of the different vendors that are working on the pump stations. So that project has begun, should be completed by February or March of next year. It'll be a major upgrade to our water and sewer system, and it gets taken completely off the books in the CIP, which is a huge win. Ambulance purchase, the board did authorize staff to move forward with a not to exceed amount of $407,000 based upon an approved RSAF grant. The RSAF grant was approved for $252,000, which was a 70-30 match. And the ambulance was in our CIP, so that gets backed out as well. The good news is we were able to work that price down to $362,561, which lowered the required match. And we're actually going to go up there and take a look and do an inspection sometime in December in New Jersey and bring that unit home at some point. But it's a Ford F-550 Type 1 ambulance. The bid included a full graphics package. This ambulance will receive all of the state police radio upgrades. We did retire an ambulance because of mechanical issues. We took everything we could off of that ambulance and saved about $60,000 in doing so, and we're going to equip this one with what came off that unit, and we've also applied for additional RSAP money to truly outfit all of our units. So, any questions thus far? Other capital projects, sewer line repair along Route 60, that's been in the CIP for several years. We were monitoring that pipe. We did feel that it was starting to cause some problems. It was holding water. Every time we cambered, it looked a little bit worse. So worked with staff on putting out an IFB in August, left it on the street for about 60 days, and ultimately received 4 bids on that, 2 of which were responsive and responsible. Reviewed with Public Works, County Admin, County Attorney, and followed all legal procurement processes. The design on this took a considerable amount of time, a lot of coordination between VDOT and TRC, who is our engineering firm, to make sure that the contractor was well aware of what they would be required to do from a traffic control standpoint, because it is going to close down 1 lane of 60. And we will be working with VDOT and the county in a public education campaign to make sure folks are aware of the upcoming work. So the board approved that contract and the appropriation at their last meeting, and we're grateful for that. So now we got to get the work done before the asphalt plant's closed. Update on the Cumberland Elementary School roof. We are developing some specifications. We've had some cost estimates and specs, but we're going to update those to reflect an asphalt shingle roof. Expected cost around $450,000. We had attempted to apply for a Department of Education infrastructure grant, but they don't cover roofs, go figure. So unfortunately, we're going to have to fund that, but by changing the approach of how we replace the roof, we're going to save off of original cost estimates and shave those down from over $1 million to $450,000. So more to come on that in the springtime. The Luther P. Jackson School Gym roof, updated specifications for removal of the A-frame. You may recall that when the county, I believe, sold that property several years back, that whoever purchased it put A-frame roofs on there, and it's in much need of replacement. And we're working on specs on that. My hope is to bring down that figure approximately $1.3 million. Again, we did try to tie these to VDOE infrastructure grant applications, but again, it won't cover roof costs. And as I move through this, I'm going to stop there before I go into the actual line items. But any questions? Okay. So we're focusing on the fiscal year 27 requests thus far. We do have requests in total in community operations totaling $405,000, and I'm going to walk through these. You actually have more details in the CIP application sheets, and I can address any questions. But the county vehicles, we would look to replace 2 maintenance vehicles. We've had to surplus maintenance vehicles because of rusted frames, mechanical issues, age, and we're looking into used vehicles to replace 2 F-150s that we ended up surplusing. And we are looking at utilizing tax dollars by going after used vehicles that meet our needs, so it's a lot cheaper to do so than to build new. The request for vehicles also includes 3 replacement vehicles for the sheriff's office, paving the road at the Randolph Transfer Station. If you've been out there, that transfer station road bed is in much need of paving. There's only so much cold patch you can put on asphalt before it looks like Beirut. So it's a constant battle we're fighting. Every winter it gets worse, so we're putting that in as a request as well. We do have HVAC replacement cycles. That's just a normal maintenance cycle of replacement for HVAC units. We do have animal control renovations to include extra kennels and adoption space. Our animal control was recognized as a no-kill shelter by the Best Friends Network earlier this year. And that's a curse and a blessing. You know, they're doing a great job, but now people are bringing dogs from other counties, cats, and they're recognizing the work of our folks, but our shelter's staying full constantly. So we're busting at the seams, and we're looking at creative ways to both design and add on to that building. We have submitted multiple grants to try to cover that. We're working on helping a citizen group form a 501c3 to help with fundraising. So we're taking as many steps as we can to help address that need. But I did want to note at that little star that this would be a grant-funded project. Fire and rescue. This request includes self-contained breathing apparatus for all 3 of the volunteer fire departments. The ambulance requests will rotate on a biannual basis. So because we've got the grant for the ambulance this year, we won't ask for another one for another 2 years. Touch base on that. Parks and Recreation, we touched base earlier about the gym roof at the LPJ complex. That's baked in here. If we somehow move forward with that project before budget adoption or before the end of the fiscal year, it will be backed out of the CIP. The Bear Creek Connector Trail, you may remember, we have Tobacco Commission funding at 50% match of $200,000 to connect the end of Foster Road with Bear Creek Lake roadway network that comes through the state forest. We are looking into partnering with VDOT. They have different types of alternative transportation funding. They have recreational access funding. They may be able to cover that second half. That's all grant contingent funding. That it would not utilize any general fund dollars to finish that project. Information technology, it does include a server refresh for $79,000 and a switch replacement for $173,000. It's vital that we get these systems replaced and updated. We have servers that are 10 years plus old, and if they go down, it's becoming more and more difficult to find parts to fix and replace, and we've got to take care of our information infrastructure. Education, the schools are requesting $700,000 for their transportation facility. I don't know if you've been over to the bus shop. If you haven't, I would encourage you to do so, and it's very clear why they need a new facility. And that $700,000 request is actually a 2-year request of $950,000, so $250,000 would be included in FY28. The boiler upgrade, the boiler system at the elementary school was undersized from the get-go. So when they designed the school and installed the boiler system, it was undersized already. So this would be an effort to upgrade that system so that it can meet the demand that's placed on the boiler system there at the school. That's for $215,995. The good news is both of those projects are eligible for the infrastructure grant funding through the Department of Education. So we will be submitting an application for both of those at the end of November. There is quite a bit of money available this fall. There will also be another round in the spring. So we are going to put our best foot forward. We're working with the schools hand in hand to submit those grant applications. And you'll see when I talk about revenues and cost estimates at the end of this presentation that the grant funds are identified. Right here on this slide. So CIP expenditures and CIP revenues must balance. You can see that the total CIP expenditures total $3,822,995, with the general fund covering $3 million, and then grants $685,000, and donations $50,000. And the total revenue needed for those projects balances out from expenditures to total revenue. Anything that isn't funded by grants or donations, of course, would have to be cash funded. And that's where we're landing now with the preliminary request. This is not a recommendation by any means. It's purely a request and can be fine-tuned. So, with that, I'll take any questions.
I have a question. As the county continues to see more homes being built, at some point, the sheriff's department's not going to be big enough. Is that something you're looking at now? Is there going to be more vehicles, that sort of thing? Or are you just looking at replacing the vehicles that are
right now? It's pretty much a replacement cycle. So whenever a new position is approved for the sheriff's department, part of that, if a request comes in for an additional deputy, then baked into that cost will be a vehicle. So you couple that together because they go hand in hand, and then it enters into the replacement cycle. So the CIP only replaces what we have. It does not address a new cost. And that's a philosophical discussion. That's just the way we recommend that we do it. It can be done in other ways as well.
It's a fun good
You could capture it in the CIP, but if you approve it in the operating budget, then you have to approve it in the CIP, otherwise you have a deputy with no car. So,
With the two school roofing projects, and then you might have touched on it, like with the generators and the contractors or vendors, kind of trying to be coordinated to go to, was that, or is there too many different variables for the two roof types of them being done kind of concurrently or
Yeah.
the same?
we actually did talk about that. So one of the things you can do is you can put both on the street at the same time and have what's called an add alternate as part of your bid process. And what that does is if we say, okay, we're going to put this roofing project, but if you'd like to bid on this one at the same time, then they actually you would put an add alternate line in there, and they'll say, okay, well, if you do both, it'll save you $250,000. I'm making this number up. It can save you $250,000 in mobilization or coordinating both projects at the same time. Is there an economies of scale there? I think we would bid it that way. And then you may get two separate bids that are less anyway. But I think the approach would be to bid them at the same time. You can award one and not the other. Give yourselves flexibility, but it's smart to at least try. That's a good question.
So for the elementary school, you said it was shingles, right? Tar shingles. Is there any consideration, and I know price might be something that I guess affects that, but 10?
Like the metal roof?
Yeah, metal roof to outlast
Sure.
shingles.
So we looked at the metal roof option, and the shingle roof option's around $400, $450. The metal roof was between 1.3 and 1.6, and the building is already of a certain age that your metal roof is going to outlast the age of the building. So at this point, and we looked at it, it's a good question, but we looked at it from both angles and felt that the asphalt shingle approach would be better. So.
Perfectly good. Excellent.
So.
I have a comment. So I appreciate you in particular, but also your staff, working so diligently trying to get grant money and matching funds and alternative sources of revenue. I know that in past administrators have not done so well on that, so I'd really like to see that we're getting lots of progress on that, so I appreciate that.
Second.
Appreciate it. It's a group effort. I mean, everybody, it's a team effort getting these grants done. There's no one person. You'd love to have one person to do it, but it takes everybody working together, so appreciate that. Any other questions?
I think we're good.
Okay, so next steps, you don't have to provide all the feedback tonight, sleep on it, look at the paperwork, and we'll come back to you and seek some feedback as we work towards that recommended budget in January. So. All right. Let me take another drink of water. Wanted to provide an update tonight as well on the planning and zoning work plan. And this was discussed with you all, as mentioned earlier. I don't know if you can see that. That's the, you can tell that I'm big on Gantt charts, right? It's a level of visual accountability and trying to work towards an end goal. So I've got these for just about everything we do here in the county. I put a little arrow up there. We're here in November, and that shows you visually what we discussed and what was presented to everyone back at the workshop earlier this year. And just wanted to give you an update. I wrote this down as far as updating the planning and zoning technician job description. Yeah, we did complete that. But we actually met with the board at a budget workshop back in early October, and we held some additional discussion on positions and possibilities. And board direction that evening was for admin to work to bring back another position description and fiscal impact that addressed staffing concerns, code enforcement, assisting with economic development initiatives, So we're working on that internally, myself, Stephanie, and Jennifer Cruz. We're about 85% complete on that, some minor edits, and we'll be sharing that with the board here shortly. Benchmark planning and zoning fees, we completed that, no recommended changes at this time. In working and streamlining processes and customer service, the county website has been refreshed. Now we're in the process of going through and cleaning up individual pages. I've made some progress on the transfer stations, I've made some progress on economic development, getting those more visible. We got to tweak it a little bit. Nothing's ever perfect when you change it over. We were actually planning to go live later in December, but our vendor got ahead of us a little bit. Instead of switching back and getting things all screwed up, let's just leave it, we'll work on it. We do have the electronic kiosk, and working with IT to format that, install that in the lobby. Per the work plan, it says November, so that's our goal, is to get that thing up and running. IGS improvements for applications and status updates. IGS rolled out with the soft launch of the new permitting software. There were major issues. Essentially, there was no bifurcation between planning and zoning and building inspections, the way they rolled it out. So you had overlap and who had to approve things, and it just wasn't working. Stephanie, you step in and you let me know if I'm...
Yeah, no, that's true. In essence, they kind of expanded the program for the building inspections to include zoning. So it caused major issues with the building inspections department and how they issued their permits and their permitting numbers and all of their reporting. So they had to completely take it all away and go back to just the building permitting software, because it does need to be two separate sets of software. Of course, we do two totally different types of permitting, and the information that I need is completely different from the building official's office. So they are having to now kind of go back and make sure that it is separate. As far as the authority to sign off on permits, yes, I would love to have the building official be able to sign off on an application, a zoning permit in my absence, but it shouldn't be required to sign in addition to myself. And I definitely don't want my name as a required signature on a building permit, because that's not my job. That's, you know, I don't have the knowledge and the wherewithal to approve those types of things. So the effort was good, it just wasn't where we needed it, so they've got to now go back and kind of restart and get it right where we need it before we can kind of roll that back out again.
Yeah, they're detangling the system.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. So we're going to stay on that and keep moving. Evaluating code checklist requirements. We are benchmarking surrounding jurisdictions on how they operate as far as checklists and applications. We've already implemented plat review and approvals through the county administrator, as well as benchmarking requirements of those, and we are in alignment with other localities. We are working on a subdivision approval flow chart and other process flow charts that we've already completed. Again, a lot of people are visual, and you know, you can have everything written out, but the flow charts seem to help a lot of folks as well too. We're taking that on as a customer service focus. Potential code amendments and from the workshop discussion, E&S ordinance updates currently with the county attorney, and once drafted, we'll be bringing that to the Planning Commission for consideration and recommendation to the board. Subdivision ordinance minimum lot size requirements, we are benchmarking that as well, working on a matrix for all the data input, and then hopefully bringing that to, yes, sir.
When you say benchmarking to surrounding localities, are you meaning that you are trying to bring it into compliance with what other counties are doing?
No, well, every county has, what they're doing may be great for them, it may be horrible for us. But for us to be able to come to a recommendation on best practices, you have to look at what others are doing. And somebody may have figured out something that works better than what you're doing. And it may reiterate and make it look like what you're doing is where you should be. So we have to go through that process of looking at that information. That's literally going line by line in the code and highlighting those things and getting it on paper. And it's time consuming. So, but we're working on that. So mixed use code language was brought up under the code amendments, under the workshop discussion, and that can be addressed as part of the small area plan. We're going to talk about the small area plan in a moment, as well as by right uses in certain areas.